What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Rantin Review Entertainment. Today we're talking about the MCU, which has been heavily criticized, and the criticisms keep growing from the outside of the fan base and from within the fan base. And a lot of the questions that people like myself are asking right now as we near the end of 2021, why is it that it seems that the Disney Plus Marvel shows are better than the two films that they released this year so far? I'm going to talk about that because I'm not the only person I've seen this a lot on the internet, outside of, and this is not dealing with people like, the Tarantinos and the Bill Maher's and the Martin Scorsese's and the director of Doom who are criticizing Marvel for existing. None of them, by the way, if you notice, even have watched many Marvel movies, but they're very critical of them. That's a whole other topic. But I'm going to talk about within the fan base, from people who have been fans of the series and this new trend where it seems like the shows have kind of taken a place as far as significance in the overall MCU storyline. But before we get to that, I want to remind you guys that this is YouTube, and YouTube loves to have that like button pressed for its algorithm. So if you could go down and just give a little press, a little bump, a little smack to that thumbs up button, I'd definitely appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to my channel too, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you know when I have new videos on the channel. I appreciate it. I was not expecting much from Disney Plus. I, in fact, did not even want to get Disney Plus. I didn't even think I was going to watch the Marvel Disney Plus movies because compared to, the last three phases during the Infinity Saga era, I guess we could call it, there were a number of Marvel shows that were outside of the movies, from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which oddly enough outlasted the for that phase, and a lot of other stuff. They went on for 7 seasons, believe it or not. Agent Carter, you had that terrible Inhumans mini series or whatever it was, but then you had the Netflix shows, which were actually pretty damn good. And Daredevil, all 3 seasons of Daredevil I loved. Jessica Jones, all 3 seasons were a little above average for me. I loved the first season of Luke Cage, and then we had Iron Fist. But with that aside, the Netflix shows, as great as they were, never really tied into the movies. In fact, never really. They didn't tie into the movies at all. So I was kind of like, well, now Disney Plus is just doing the stuff on their platform, but they're not going to tie into the movies. Well, apparently that has now changed. Now, once I found that out and I heard about the shows that they were bringing up, the only one I really was interested in at first was Loki, because that sounded like a lot of fun. They were going to have a whole series about Loki, since his character was dead in the MCU timeline. That interests me. But the first show that I watched was the first show that came out which was WandaVision, which the first couple episodes, like a lot of people, kind of had me confused. But then once they got to episode 3 and for the rest of the ride on that show, it was freaking fantastic. So that was awesome. Then we had Falcon and the Winter Soldier, same kind of thing. By the time I got to episode 3, it didn't really rocket it to the ending. Loki was fantastic. And even this Marvel What If series, with the exception of the Party Thor episode, which I didn't like, but most of those animated episodes have been really trippy. Like the darkest thing that has happened in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is that whole Doctor Strange episode. I'm not going to spoil it for those of you who haven't seen it. That is the darkest thing that has happened in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. So you have there's these little Easter eggs and things that are tying together about the multiverse. That's all in the Disney Plus shows. Meanwhile, the movies we got this year, which was so far Black Widow's movie, that's long, way overdue, and the Shang-Chi movie, they felt like they were back in phase 1 Marvel. Like, they felt very formulaic and cookie cutter, which is what the director of Doom was criticizing Marvel movies for. This is why I'm saying those kind of criticisms are unfair, because the Marvel Cinematic Universe has evolved so much since those phase 1s. They started doing, an espionage movie here. Instead, let's just not do the same superhero origin story with all of these movies. We're going to do an espionage film with Captain America and the Winter Soldier. We're going to do a heist comedy with Ant-Man. We're going to do a space opera comedy with Thor Ragnarok and Guardians of the Galaxy. So they mixed it up in what they were doing, and that whole, formula cookie cutter Marvel superhero story was kind of done. I thought we were past that by now. But Shang-Chi and Black Widow followed the same old Marvel tropes, so it felt like a regression. Not to mention, there's not much in those films that has anything really to do with all the multiverse stuff. Most of what we got from those two movies was one tying in with Shang-Chi and bringing them over. We got them kind of reinforcing different dimensions and whatever. And then, of course, we have the new Black Widow from the post-credit scene in Black Widow, which did tie in with Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So that was a bit of tie-in there. But me, as a fan of the MCU, I find that the TV shows are way more interesting than the films. Now, the only saving grace for this, though, I can say is that it doesn't seem like that's going to last, because Spider-Man 3, well, No Way Home or whatever it's called, that obviously is dealing with the multiverse from all of the trailers, with Doctor Strange is for some reason in a house. The Sanctum Sanctorum is for some reason ice written. And just some strange stuff. Obviously, they're breaking the multiverse stuff, both in a in-canon way within the story and in a meta way, by bringing in the Andrew Garfield and the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man villains, as far as we can see so far, which is so trippy. It's so crazy that happened. That's happening in this movie. So it looks like they are starting to they're going to weave that in, starting with the Spider-Man movie. And of course, we have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness coming up. So it's really interesting to me, though, how are they going to tie these things together, because things seem to be on different levels. You got this super overarching level of Kang and Loki and the multiverse and Wanda and Doctor Strange and how all that stuff's going on. But then we got what's going on with Sharon Carter and Falcon and the Winter Soldier and that whole thing with Armor Wars that's going to be coming up. So, and then we got kind of Shang-Chi over here and his thing. So it's kind of going to be very curious to me how these things are all going to come together and tie together. That is a big question, and that is my one. Well, I can't really say it's a criticism of the Disney Plus shows, because we're so early in phase 4. They're kind of just seeding stuff here, and how it all comes together, that's part of why we watch, and that's part of the charm of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is the mystery and the guessing and wondering what this means and where is it going to lead to in the future movies. But I want to know what you guys think about this. Do you think that the Disney Plus shows have been a lot better than the films that Marvel have released this year? Do you think the films, the two ones this year, seem to have kind of regressed back to that phase 1 style from the late 2000s? Let me know. Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Until then, I will see you guys here for more reviews and commentary on movies, TV, and everything else here on the Rantin Review Entertainment. Have a good day.